43% of working adults say money is hurting their mental health, and almost all of them are looking at the wrong cause. They earn more, save more, and plan more, but the tightness stays. That's because money anxiety isn't a math problem at its root. It's a relationship. The ancient teachers had a word for the quality that heals this relationship, and that word is equanimity. There's a moment that happens more often than people admit. You're sitting in bed, or maybe standing in line for coffee, and without thinking you pull up your banking app, and the numbers are right there in black and white, and your chest tightens anyway. Bankrate ran a survey in early 2025, and the results are striking. More than 2 in 5 Americans say money is actively hurting their mental health, at least sometimes. And the symptoms include sleepless nights and that familiar tightness in the chest. For millennials and Gen X, the numbers climb even higher. That's nearly half of the working population lying awake at night, not because they lack information, but because something deeper remains unresolved. And here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. This tightness doesn't only visit people who are broke. It shows up in households earning 6 figures. You see it in people who have paid off their debt, built their emergency fund, and checked every box, and still the body sounds the alarm. The numbers look fine, but the body disagrees, so the professional mind does what it always does. And it treats the symptom as a math problem that can be solved with more earning, more saving, and more careful planning. But the anxiety never actually leaves, and instead it finds new numbers to attach to and new milestones to chase. Each raise becomes a new baseline, while the finish line keeps moving. We pour more energy into accounts and budgets, and here's where the story takes a turn. The numbers aren't useless. Budgeting matters, saving matters, and earning with intention matters. No one is saying to ignore your actual bills, because those are real, and they need your attention. But there's a pattern. You finally hit the emergency fund goal you set 3 years ago, but instead of relief, you feel a new pressure to invest it. You get the promotion you worked for, but instead of peace, you feel a new fear of losing what you just gained. The finish line was supposed to be right there, and as soon as you reach it, the mind paints a new one further out and tells you that rest is dangerous. This isn't a failure of discipline or willpower. It's a failure of diagnosis. Most professionals were handed 2 stories about money when they were young. One said wealth is the goal, and the other said wanting it is shameful. But neither story was the whole truth. And somewhere between them, we got lost. We learned to treat money as the scoreboard for our safety, our worth, and our future happiness. We learned to relate to it with clinging, with fear, and with the quiet belief that our peace depends entirely on the next number. Put simply, money anxiety at its root isn't about finances. It's a relationship problem. And like any relationship that has gone sour, it can be worked with slowly and honestly, one small step at a time. But here's what most people miss. The relationship isn't between you and your bank account. It's between you and the part of your mind that believes your value rises and falls with every market tick, every bonus, and every unexpected bill. This is where most people get stuck, and it's worth slowing down here because this single insight changes the entire approach from the ground up. So take a breath. The Buddhist concept here is called equanimity, and it basically means something different than most of us were taught. Equanimity isn't indifference, and it's not the bland shrug of someone who has given up. It's a stable, grounded calm that isn't shaken by external highs and lows. A quiet steadiness that remains whether the news is good or bad. The Barre Center for Buddhist Studies describes it as the liberating quality that keeps our hearts open and balanced in the midst of change. That's the exact quality most professionals have never been taught to apply to money. The Buddha mapped this out thousands of years ago through what he called the 8 worldly Dhammas. These are 4 pairs of conditions that shake the human mind, and they include gain and loss, pleasure and pain, praise and blame, and fame and disrepute. When you attach to having gained something, you automatically carry the fear that it will be lost. When you attach to having succeeded, you automatically carry the fear of failure. And that fear becomes its own kind of prison. The bonus lands in your account, and for a few hours you feel real relief. Then the mind starts calculating where the next bonus needs to come from. The market dips, and your whole morning is ruined before you have even finished your coffee, which means a number on a screen just stole your peace. These aren't purely financial events. They are emotional earthquakes triggered by numbers on a screen, and they reveal how deeply we have handed our inner stability over to conditions we cannot control. Equanimity doesn't mean you stop caring about your income. It doesn't mean you stop saving or planning. It means you stop letting the outcome decide how you feel about yourself. That's a small shift with enormous consequences. The numbers become information you can use, not verdicts on your value. In other words, the account balance is just a number, a piece of data that tells you something useful about your character or your worth. Your reaction to it is the relationship, and the relationship is what needs your full attention. So here's what this actually looks like in practice. The concept is easy in a quiet room, and applying it in real life is where people stumble. The next time you feel that familiar tightness, don't reach for the spreadsheet first. Reach for the sensation and notice exactly where the anxiety lives in your body. Maybe it's the chest, or the shoulders, or the jaw. Your only job is to feel it without changing anything. Just notice it, without trying to fix it. This sounds small, but it isn't small at all because you can't be clinging and noticing at the same time. The moment you notice the clinging, you have already stepped outside of it, and from that calm place you can see clearly without the panic distorting your view. Then name what is going on, because the Buddha gave us a map for these moments. Ask yourself whether this is gain or loss, and name the worldly Dhamma pulling at your attention. Naming it separates the event from the story you are telling about yourself. Because of it, and that separation gives you space to breathe. The market dipped 2%, and that's simply an event. I'm falling behind, and I'll never catch up. That's just a story. They aren't the same thing, and seeing the difference is half the work. Then practice the pause in the middle of real life. The bill arrives in your inbox, the direct deposit clears, or the unexpected expense hits out of nowhere. Try to find one full breath before your mind assigns a verdict. Give yourself one breath between the stimulus and the reaction. That single breath is the doorway into equanimity, and it's available in every moment, no matter what the numbers say. This is the middle way in action, which means not indulging in panic, not practicing denial, not worshiping wealth, and not rejecting it out of guilt. It means meeting what is actually here with a steady mind and an open heart. That is the practice, and it connects directly to right livelihood. Earning in a way that aligns with your values isn't separate from this practice. It's part of it. When your work and your words line up, the money that flows from that work carries less anxiety with it. Wealth, built on equanimity, compounds differently than wealth built on fear. Both might look identical on a spreadsheet, but one of them lets you sleep at night, and one of them costs you your peace with every dip and rally. In the long run, that difference matters more than most people admit. The tightness in your chest was never a number. It was a signal that your relationship with money was asking for your attention. Slowly, honestly, and with patience. And that invitation has always been there waiting for you to notice it. That relationship can change. If this landed, share it with someone who is navigating the same path. Subscribe if this helped. We go deeper every week.